a strange blue energy began to emerge from the armor and the weapon. As the demon Decrabia's eye glowed with malice, it used its powers and began to absorb the mana from the nearby objects to strengthen itself. Vikir watched intently and didn't let his guard down. He realized that the demon had reached this size by absorbing the mana from the surrounding artifacts. His initial plan had been to slice through the entire rack in a single blow, but now he understood that his opponent had been concealing its strength. The demon Decrabia began to laugh like a madman, proclaiming that a tremendous power was coursing through its entire body. It declared that it would now open the door to the abyss to exterminate humanity, sentencing the insignificant humans to despair. Decrabia's eye widened in confusion, its attention fixing on Vikir, who was standing nearby. As a powerful energy emerged from his body, it couldn't help but wonder who our boy was. With a confident expression, Vikir revealed that he was the person who had awakened it. After saying this, Vikir adopted an offensive stance, and a powerful energy began to surge from his body. The demon observed carefully and was somewhat surprised to notice that its opponent gave off a demonic aura. Because of this, it had been sure that the one who awakened it was another demon. Decrabia's attention turned to the Beelzebub sword. It wondered if that could be the legendary weapon, as it seemed impossible for a human to possess the power of an ancient demonic constellation. As Vikir's eyes glowed with rage, he concentrated and prepared to attack. To him, this was of no importance, as the demon would be destroyed right here anyway. Slowly, Vikir's sword began to approach the demon's eye, but then it started to glow. Laughing boisterously, the demon proclaimed that its contract with the demon race was settled and that it would now begin a new contract with a human. Hearing this, Vikir froze in shock, his eyes widening in surprise and confusion, not knowing what was happening. Consumed by curiosity, Vikir decided not to attack for now and asked the demon what it was talking about. With a serene expression, the demon asked if, by any chance, he had awakened it without knowing what it was. With a confident gaze, Vikir nodded, affirming that he knew it was a demon. Decrabia began to stare intently at our boy, explaining that, more precisely, it was a being that used to be a demon. It fell into a deep sleep every 1,000 years, and depending on who awakened it first in each cycle, its disposition for the next 1,000 years was determined. Vikir was somewhat confused by the idea that the demon's disposition was determined by whoever woke it up. Vikir began to imbue all his mana into his sword and lunged at the demon. His eyes widened with rage. He had heard enough. Noticing this, the demon Decrabia panicked, wondering why he was pointing his sword at it. Blinded by anger, Vikir moved like a thunderclap and attacked with several powerful slashes, which struck the demon's body head-on. Vikir continued to attack, and Decrabia began to dodge the strikes. Its eye widened in confusion, making it sweat as it shrieked, asking what the human was doing and why on earth he was trying to harm its noble body. With a piercing gaze, Vikir raised his sword, ready to attack again, making it clear that his mission was to kill demons. Noticing our boy's look, the demon's eye widened in fear. Its recovery speed couldn't keep up, and at this rate, it would truly die. With its eye full of tears, the demon explained to our boy that it was no longer a demon. Vikir didn't believe its words, stating that he no longer trusted anything demons said. Decrabia didn't give up and, with a confident expression, mentioned that if Vikir couldn't believe it, he should check its mana. Hearing this, Vikir stopped. His body began to tremble, and he felt somewhat confused and surprised. Our boy calmed down a bit and, upon concentrating, he noticed that the demonic scent had disappeared. Decrabia got angry and started fuming, yelling at Vikir that he was a lunatic. It reminded him of what it had already said. Since he had awakened it, it was of no use to the demons anymore. From now on, it was on the human's side. With tears in its eye, Decrabia explained that it was genuinely useful. It mentioned that it could identify oparts, had historical knowledge, and could also create shields, especially highlighting this last ability. Vikir's eyes began to shine with seriousness as memories of the demon invasion flooded his mind. With Decrabia at the forefront, he remembered the shield. In the age of destruction before his regression, it fed on the mana of 9 demons. It was the shield that had defended against the all-out attacks of the human alliance, known literally as the Wall of Wailing. Decrabia still had tears in its eye and was somewhat furious. Vikir stood up and began to ponder in silence, thinking that if this power were used for humanity, it could be an asset even if the Age of Destruction returned. This would also be a heavy loss for the demons, so perhaps there was no need to destroy it. Vikir imbued his swordmaster's mana into his blade and brought the edge close to the demon's eye. He accepted the deal, but in return, he ordered it to vomit everything up, demanding every last piece of information it had on the 10 elite corpses. The demon's eye widened in surprise and confusion, as an intense mana surged from Vikir's body. With a piercing gaze, he made it clear that if the demon showed even the slightest hesitation, he would tear it apart until not even a recognizable shape was left. Decrabia couldn't help but feel relieved and began to cry. It assured him that it understood and would cooperate, begging him to stop saying terrifying things like killing it. Then, the demon transformed into a necklace. Noticing this, Vikir's eyes widened in surprise, leaving him in shock. In the blink of an eye, Decrabia had transformed into a simple necklace. Vikir's attention fixed on Decrabia. With a confused gaze, our boy asked what it was doing. Decrabia explained that it couldn't just float around, so it had tried to look as much like an artifact as possible by turning into a necklace. The door had closed completely. Decrabia, noticing that the exit was sealed, asked how they were supposed to get out. At the same time, on the other side of the door, Vensy Morg was desperately pounding on it, trying to open it. Clenching his fists, he began to beat on it without stopping, ordering the door to open. His eyes were filled with desperation as he screamed that his student had not yet come out, demanding they open the door. Noticing this, Blue Whale's eyes widened with concern. He had never seen Vensy Morg so desperate. Clenching his fist tightly, Bakura began to walk toward the door. Seeing this, Philippus grew somewhat curious and asked him what he thought he was doing. Bakura turned to him and with a sincere expression, said that their comrade was trapped in there and that they had to do something. Far from feeling sad, the Baskerville triplets were filled with determination, vowing that they would rescue Vikir somehow. Several minutes had passed and the door had not opened. Dolores's eyes were full of fear and worry. Sinclair, who was standing beside her, put her hands over her mouth and panicked, not knowing if Vikir was okay. Blue Whale started to look down at the floor and, with a sad expression, asked Vensy Morg to stop if he was thinking of breaking down the door. He revealed that it was a door that could never be broken open. Exhausted, Vensy Morg fell to his knees on the floor. He couldn't help but grit his teeth hard, feeling furious and desperate. Just then, something caught Vensy Morg's attention, making him lift his head. His eyes widened in surprise. He couldn't believe what his eyes were witnessing. Something began to attack the door from the other side, causing it to slowly start to break. Noticing this, Vensy Morg, who was nearby, couldn't help but feel somewhat confused, not knowing what was happening. Not long after, the door shattered into pieces, sending fragments flying in all directions. Luckily, Vensy Morg was quick. He got to his feet and started to run to avoid being hit. A powerful energy began to emerge from the doorway. Blue Whale's and the others' jaws dropped in surprise, while on the other side, Bakura's and Philippus's eyes widened in confusion. Someone had broken part of the door. At that moment, Vikir appeared, and while his eyes shone with surprise, he maintained a serene expression. He apologized for being a little late, explaining that he had only intended to slightly tear the barrier, but ended up shattering the door completely. Seeing that Vikir had managed to break the door, the eyes of Vensy Morg, the Baskerville triplets, Dolores, and Sinclair widened in surprise, leaving them paralyzed with shock. Our boy knew this was going to be hard to explain. Our boy decided to lie and began to show Decrabia, which had transformed into a necklace. With a sincere expression, he explained that this artifact could break barriers, but that it was for single use only. Just before Vikir could finish speaking, Sinclair ran up to give him a hug. Noticing this, Vikir panicked. His eyes widened in confusion, not knowing what was happening. Sinclair began to cry, and tears started to stream from her eyes like an endless river, shouting at Vikir that she had thought he wouldn't come back. Just then, someone wearing gloves placed a hand on Vikir's shoulder. It was Bakura, who, with a smile, told him he had worked hard, correcting himself to call him not by his name, but by his title, Master Hunter. The Baskerville triplets couldn't help but cry and feel admiration for Vikir, proclaiming that they had always believed in him. Lovegood Merlini clasped her hands and couldn't help but cry, feeling relieved. On the other hand, Philippus adjusted his glasses and began to show a proud smile. Dolores wiped away her tears and felt relieved to see that Vikir had managed to get out. Vikir felt confused, wondering why nobody cared how he had opened the door and managed to get out. Vensy Morg welcomed him back with a relieved expression. After saying this, he began to walk away with a proud smile. The only thing Vikir could do was thank him. As Sinclair continued to cry, Vikir placed a hand on her back, and his eyes began to shine with tranquility. Somehow, everything had been resolved. The Olympic survival competition was complete. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.